Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at some excerpts from this book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, by Patrick Bet-David.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to pull out some insights on business planning and how to achieve audacious goals.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about how your rivals or even your critics can help you succeed?
It's funny you should say that because that's the central idea in this book, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, at first you might think, wait, enemies, like, isn't that a bit much?
Yeah.
But Bet-David clarifies that he's not talking about enemies in like a super malicious sense.
Right.
It's more like he's saying that enemies can be challenges or competitors, or even just those naysayers in your life that push you to be better.
Right.
It's not about like, going out and like picking fights with people.
Right.
But more about recognizing that you can be motivated by those things.
Yeah, and actually he talks about a story from his own life.
Yeah.
About his dad actually being kind of humiliated by this rival insurance sales executive named Harry at a Christmas Eve party. And this really lit a fire under Bet-David.
Yeah.
It fueled his ambition and shaped his whole entrepreneurial journey.
Interesting.
And it makes you think about like those defining moments in your own life. Right? Like how those things that you go through sometimes that you don't expect can really push you in unexpected directions.
Absolutely. And Bet-David even went so far as to confront Harry years later.
Really?
Yeah, and actively seek out criticism from him.
Yeah.
Just to keep that drive going.
Wow.
I thought that was a really fascinating detail in the book. Because like instead of shying away from the negativity,
Right.
he was like, no, let me lean into this and use it to my advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to, a certain level of self-awareness that Bet-David has and a willingness to embrace the discomfort as a way to grow.
I was struck by that too. It's like he knew that he needed that external pressure to push himself, beyond what he was comfortable with.
Yeah.
So how do we apply this? Like this idea of choosing your enemies wisely.
Well, think about it this way. Have you ever had a boss who doubted your abilities or a competitor who always seemed to be like a step ahead of you?
Sure.
So instead of letting that get you down, what if you could reframe those experiences as opportunities and use that energy to fuel your determination to be better than them or prove them wrong?
Okay, so it's about taking that frustration or that anger even and channeling it into something that can actually help you grow.
Exactly.
But it's not all about finding an enemy and being motivated by that.
Right.
As you said earlier, Bet-David also talks about the balance of will and skill. So what exactly does he mean by that?
He's saying that in order to achieve any goal, you need both willpower and competence.
Okay.
So think of it this way. Will is like the fuel. It's the burning desire that keeps you going even when things get hard. And then skill is like the engine, right?
Right.
It's the tools and expertise that allow you to execute on your vision.
So it's not enough to just want it really bad. You also got to have the ability to actually make it happen.
Exactly. And to illustrate this point, Bet-David actually shares a pretty personal story in the book.
Yeah.
About a time when he had his car repossessed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a humbling experience. And it really forced him to confront his own lack of will at the time. The discipline and the commitment that's required to really, stay on top of your finances.
Right.
And it was a turning point for him because he realized that will isn't some innate quality that some people have and others don't.
Right.
But it's something that you can build through conscious effort and practice.
That's a really interesting point. So how do you actually build that willpower muscle?
Well, he suggests that you should look for environments and mentors that will push you to develop your will.
Okay.
He shares an example of a guy named Matt Sapola, who was a former Marine. And he had struggled for years in financial services before he found success after joining Bet-David's firm. And what's interesting about Matt's story is that he had the skills, but he lacked the consistent drive to really excel.
Right.
So the structured environment and the mentorship that he got at Valuetainment really helped him hone in on that discipline and focus he needed.
Right. So it's not all about individual effort. It's also about, the people you surround yourself with and the structures that support your growth.
Absolutely.
So what about the skill side of the equation?
Yeah.
How do we make sure we're constantly developing, the competencies we need to be successful?
Well, Bet-David, he's really big on this idea of continuous learning.
Okay.
He even mentions in the book a statistic from Harvard Business Review that says that only 29% of new hires possess all of the skills that are required for their roles.
Yeah.
So in today's world, it's more important than ever to be adaptable and invest in yourself and developing new skills.
Yeah, he talks about a time when he himself was really bad at conflict resolution. And to get better, he spent an entire year reading like 6 books on the subject and actually like transformed that weakness into a strength.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
What's sticking out to you so far? Anything really resonating with you in terms of your own goals?
I'm really intrigued by this whole idea of strategically choosing your enemies.
Yeah.
Makes me think about like competition and challenges in a totally different way.
It's powerful, right?
Yeah.
And remember, these enemies, they don't have to be people.
Right.
It could be like a tough competitor in your industry, or a personal bad habit you want to break, or even just a self-limiting belief that's been holding you back.
Yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in a moment to explore more insights from Choose Your Enemies Wisely,
Okay.
including the importance of defining like a powerful mission statement and building systems that support your goals.
Right.
So stay with us.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are continuing our exploration of Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick Bet-David. Yes.
So we talked about, harnessing the power of enemies and striking that balance between will and skill. But now let's shift gears a bit and talk about defining a clear mission,
Okay.
both for your business and for your personal life.
Yeah, this is where things start to get really practical. Bet-David, he argues that having a well-defined mission,
Right.
it's like having a compass. It gives you direction, it helps you make decisions,
Yeah.
and keeps you focused when things get tough.
He talks about how he had his own aha moment with mission statements after going to a lecture by George Will,
Yeah.
who's a conservative columnist. And Will's talk just like sparked something in Bet-David, and he was able to really articulate his mission.
Interesting.
And for him, it was a blend of his passions, his dislikes, and things he wanted to change in the world.
It's interesting how he didn't just focus on what he wanted to achieve personally,
Right.
but he also incorporated his values and his desire to make a positive impact.
It adds another layer to his work, don't you think?
Definitely. And that's something we can all learn from, I think.
Yeah.
It's about thinking beyond just, making money or achieving success for yourself. It's about aligning your work with a larger purpose.
Yeah. And to that point, he has a really interesting challenge for readers.
Okay.
He says, try replacing the word just with because in your goals.
Interesting.
So instead of saying, I just want to start a business,
Right.
you would say, I want to start a business because I want to empower women entrepreneurs,
Right.
or whatever
That's a really interesting technique.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to actually articulate the reason behind it
Right.
and connect with a deeper motivation for why you're doing it.
He also gives a lot of examples of companies that have really powerful mission statements.
Okay.
Like Patagonia, they're all about, saving the planet. And then there's TED, which is all about spreading ideas.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed how those companies really live and breathe their mission statements?
Totally. It's reflected in everything they do.
Yeah, their mission isn't just some empty words.
Right.
It's the guiding principle that shapes their products, their marketing, and their culture.
Yeah, but how do we translate this into our own lives?
Yeah.
Creating a personal mission statement can feel kind of daunting.
Yeah, where do you even begin?
Well, he suggests that you should start by reflecting on your passions,
Okay.
your dislikes, and what you want to change in the world. What are the problems that you see that you think you're uniquely equipped to solve?
Right.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? So your mission statement, it should be a reflection of your core values and what you stand for.
It's almost like a personal manifesto.
Yeah.
Like a declaration of your intent.
Right.
It makes you really think about the impact you want to make. Not just personally, but on society as a whole.
And once you have that mission statement, it becomes like a guiding light.
Okay.
It helps you make decisions about what opportunities to pursue, what projects to prioritize, and even who you should be collaborating with.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're staying true to your purpose and not getting sidetracked by distractions.
So we've got our motivation from our enemies. We're working on building our will and our skill.
Right.
And we've defined our mission. What's next in Bet-David's framework?
Well, that's where systems come in.
Okay.
He is a huge proponent of systems.
Yeah.
Those repeatable processes and structures that help you automate behaviors, improve efficiency, and scale your success.
He actually uses a really great analogy to explain the importance of systems.
What's that?
The Moneyball story.
Oh, yeah.
So just like the Oakland A's, they leverage data and systems to totally revolutionize baseball.
Right.
Businesses and individuals can use systems to optimize their performance too.
So Bet David, even though he's a creative person and kind of disorganized, he realized the power of systems after seeing how they helped him scale his business.
Interesting.
He actually resisted them at first.
Really?
Yeah, he did. But eventually he embraced them.
Okay.
And he realized that systems can actually free up your mental energy so you can focus on bigger picture thinking and strategy.
So it's not about just being organized for the sake of being organized.
Right.
It's about creating systems that actually help you work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
It sounds good in theory, but how do you put this into practice?
Well, he shares a lot of examples in the book.
Okay.
He talks about scheduling executive health testing to automate doctor visits. He uses a service called Send Out Cards to automate personalized thank you notes.
Interesting.
And he even created a running mate scorecard to evaluate team members.
That scorecard thing is really interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So the running mate scorecard is a system that he uses to assess potential business partners
Okay.
and key hires. So it goes beyond just looking at their resumes and skills.
Right.
He evaluates them based on things like their values, their work ethic, their ability to handle conflict, and their overall alignment with his company culture.
So it's like a structured way to make sure you're bringing in the right people.
Yeah, it's about finding people who are the right fit, not just for a role, but for the long-term vision.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like it takes the guesswork out of team building. And it helps you make sure you're surrounded by people who are on the same page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's something that you could apply to any situation where you're working with a team.
Yeah.
It's about defining the criteria that are most important to you.
Right.
And then evaluating people based on those criteria.
This is good stuff.
It is.
So much practical advice.
It's about being intentional and strategic, not just hoping that things will work out.
Exactly.
Systems help you create a framework for success, reduce chaos, and focus on what really matters.
Okay, so we've talked about enemy's will and skill mission statements and systems.
Yeah.
It's like we're building a pretty solid foundation here. What else does Bet David emphasize in the book?
Well, he also talks about the importance of building a winning culture.
Okay.
And he believes that culture is the heart and soul of any organization or even a successful individual.
Yeah, he has that great line where he says, culture is what defines you.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just like add on later. It's got to be like woven into the fabric of everything you do.
Yeah, and he has this fun little culture matching game in the where he links different companies with their defining cultural traits.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Like Zappos. He connects that with enjoyment. Goldman Sachs with results.
Okay.
And the New York Yankees with winning.
It's a good way to show how those distinct cultural traits become like synonymous with a certain organization.
Yeah, they really shape the brand, the employee experience, and how the company is perceived.
And Ed David is very intentional about fostering a specific culture at Valuetainment.
Yeah, what does he do?
So he requires that all new hires read a book and submit a report on it.
It's interesting.
Just to kind of gauge their commitment to learning. And he organized this very elaborate ceremony at the Jekyll Island Club.
Wow.
Which is a place that's historically associated with powerful financial figures.
Yeah.
And he did this to really solidify the company's values and principles.
I thought that whole ceremony at Jekyll Island was really interesting.
Yeah, me too.
It was such a bold and unconventional move.
Yeah, like what was the thinking behind that?
Well, I think it was about creating a shared experience that would be memorable and meaningful for everyone.
Right.
He wanted to instill a sense of history, tradition, and purpose in his team.
Yeah.
And he understood the power of symbolism and ritual in shaping a company's culture.
It's a great example of how leaders can use creative strategies to reinforce those values and create that strong sense of community.
It's not just about writing a mission statement and calling it a day.
Right.
It's about actively cultivating a culture that supports the vision.
Yeah, so we've got motivation skills, a mission systems, and a winning culture.
We do.
What's the final piece of the puzzle?
Well, the final piece is crafting a compelling vision for the future.
Okay.
And this is where things get really exciting.
Yeah.
Bet David argues that a strong vision, it acts like a guiding star.
Oh, okay.
It provides direction, clarity, and inspiration, especially when you're facing uncertainty.
He uses a great analogy about like a ship's design.
Oh, yeah.
Like a well-designed ship can weather any storm.
Right.
And in the same way, a clear vision helps you stay on course when you encounter challenges.
One of my favorite parts of the book is when he shares the story of how he achieved his childhood dream.
Oh, wow.
Of owning a part of the New York Yankees.
Really?
Yeah. And he had this childhood baseball card collection that fueled his dream.
Interesting.
And it's just a perfect illustration of the power of visualization and holding on to those big aspirations, even when they seem far-fetched.
It's a very inspiring story.
It is.
It shows you that even those impossible dreams can come true.
Yeah.
If you're willing to put in the work and never give up.
Yeah. Right. But how do we go about crafting a vision that's both compelling and achievable?
Yeah. What advice does he give?
Well, he suggests using a dream language phrase.
Okay.
Which is imagine one day if.
Oh, okay.
And he encourages readers to use this phrase to articulate their aspirations, to paint a vivid picture of their desired future.
It's like giving yourself permission to dream big.
Exactly.
Yeah, see those possibilities.
But it's not just about dreaming.
Right.
It's about taking action.
Bet David also talks about the importance of clarity and impact when defining your vision.
Yes, and he shares examples of his own visions.
Okay.
Including his vision for entrepreneurship education and his app, Minect. And he says that a compelling vision should not only describe your desired outcome,
Right.
but also articulate the positive impact it's going to have on your customers or on the world.
So it's about connecting your vision with a larger purpose.
Yeah.
And showing the value that it brings.
He also encourages readers to adopt a long-term perspective. And he uses the example of Jeff Bezos and Amazon. Bezos was willing to withstand pressure from Wall Street and prioritize his long-term vision
Wow.
over short-term profits.
That's a good reminder that building something truly meaningful takes patience.
Yeah.
And resilience.
It does.
And a willingness to stick to your vision even when other people doubt you.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot of ground from enemies to vision statements.
We have.
But Bet David doesn't stop there.
Okay.
He also dives into the practical aspects of bringing your vision to life, including how to secure the capital you need to make it happen.
That's a crucial piece of the puzzle,
It is.
especially for entrepreneurs or anyone with big goals
Right.
that require financial resources.
So what are some of his key insights on this topic?
Well, he says that securing capital is about more than just presenting solid financials.
Right.
It's about telling a story that connects with investors on an emotional level.
Yeah, think about Shark Tank.
Okay.
You see all these entrepreneurs who come in with amazing ideas, but they just can't articulate their vision in a way that really captures the investors.
Yeah, and then you see those who maybe don't have the strongest numbers, but they can paint such a compelling picture of the future,
Yeah.
and their passion is so contagious.
Exactly. He says that a successful investor pitch has 3 key elements:
Oh, okay. What are those?
the hook, the story, and the emotion.
Okay, so what's the hook?
The hook is your verbal elevator pitch.
Okay.
It's that concise, attention-grabbing summary of your business idea
Right.
that's designed to make them want to learn more.
It's all about making a good first impression.
Exactly.
Okay, and then what's the story?
So the story is typically presented as a 15-slide deck.
Okay.
And this is where you lay out all the details of your business
Right.
in a logical and visually appealing way.
So you're balancing a good narrative with the hard data.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the last one was emotion. What's that all about?
Emotion is where you bring in your passion, your authenticity, and your personality. It's about connecting with the investors on a human level.
Right.
And making them believe in you and your vision.
So it sounds like it's all about finding that sweet spot between logic and emotion.
It is.
Does he give any tips on crafting a good elevator pitch?
He does. He says that clarity, brevity, and authenticity are key.
Okay.
He advises entrepreneurs to practice their pitch until it feels natural and conversational.
Yeah, because no one wants to hear a robotic rehearsed pitch.
Exactly.
You want to be able to connect with them.
Yeah. And investors, they're more likely to invest in someone that they believe in.
Right.
Someone who can articulate their vision with passion and conviction.
He also talks about the importance of understanding the investor's perspective.
Yeah, he says you should ask yourself questions like, why should they be interested in my business? And what's in it for them?
It's a very customer-centric approach
It is.
because it ensures that your pitch is actually resonating with them and addressing their needs and motivations.
It's about showing them how your vision aligns with their goals.
Right.
And how investing in you is a smart decision.
And it's about building that connection, right?
Absolutely.
Investors are people too.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to invest in someone they trust and feel good about supporting.
This has been a really insightful look into Bet David's framework.
It has.
Yeah, we've covered so much ground.
Yeah, from identifying your enemies to crafting your vision and getting the resources to make it happen.
What are some of the key takeaways you want to leave our listener with today?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that achieving ambitious goals requires a holistic approach.
Yeah, it's not just about having a great idea or working hard.
Right.
It's about aligning your motivation, your skills, your mission, your systems, your culture, and your vision.
It's about creating that framework that encompasses both the tangible and intangible aspects of building something meaningful.
Exactly. And it's about being intentional and strategic every step of the way.
We're going to be back in a moment to recap all the key takeaways from our deep dive into Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
Sounds good.
And offer some actionable insights so you can apply these principles to your own life and work.
Awesome.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent this episode really getting into Patrick Bet-David's Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
And we've explored so many ideas like how to harness those enemies, how to cultivate that balance between will and skill, how to define your mission, put systems in place, build a winning culture, craft a compelling vision, and even how to get the money to make it all happen.
We covered a lot of ground.
It's been a real journey.
It has.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's recap some of the key takeaways.
Okay.
And look at how we can apply these things in our own lives. What are some of the things that have stood out to you?
Well, one of the big things for me was that idea of strategically choosing your enemies.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not necessarily people you don't like,
Right.
but more like challenges competitors or even those limiting beliefs. That can actually fuel your motivation.
Right, like Tom Brady. He always used those doubters and rivals to push himself further.
It's such a powerful reframe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you can actually turn that negativity into fuel.
Yeah, and once you found those enemies, you got to work on cultivating both will and skill.
Absolutely.
And willpower, that's that inner drive, right? That desire to succeed even when things get tough.
Like when Bet David had his car repossessed.
Yeah.
That was a wake-up call for him about discipline and commitment.
Right, and it shows that will isn't something you're just born with.
Right.
It's something you can develop.
Absolutely.
And then there's skill, the tools and the expertise you need to actually make your vision a reality.
And Bet David, he's a big believer in always learning.
Yeah.
Like when he spent a whole year reading books on conflict resolution to get better at something he struggled with.
Right. It shows that even successful people are always looking for ways to improve. So once you've got the motivation and the skills, it's time to define your mission.
Right.
Bet David says it's like having a compass.
Yeah, it gives you direction.
Helps you make those decisions.
And stay focused.
And think about those companies with great missions like Patagonia saving the planet or TED spreading ideas.
They really live by those missions.
They do.
And they're woven into everything they do.
So Bet David says to start with your passions, your dislikes, what you want to change,
what problems you can solve,
and what legacy you want to leave.
And don't forget to switch out just for because in your goals.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It makes you think about the why.
It does.
So you've got the motivation, the skills, the mission, now what?
Systems.
Systems, yeah.
Bet David's a big fan of systems.
Yeah. Even though it didn't come naturally to him, he saw how they helped him scale his business.
And they can help you be more efficient.
And get more done with less effort.
Like the Moneyball story.
Yeah.
They use data and systems to change baseball.
And you can use them in your own life.
Maybe a morning routine?
A project management tool?
Even automating tasks.
Bet David even made a scorecard.
Yeah, the Running Mate scorecard.
To evaluate potential partners.
So he's bringing in the right people.
Who share his values and goals.
Systems can help with all that.
They really can.
Okay, so we've got systems in place. Now, what about culture?
Yeah, culture is what defines you.
It's the heart and soul of your organization.
Like Zappos, they're all about enjoyment.
Goldman Sachs results.
And the Yankees winning.
Think about the culture you want to create.
And then take action like Bet David.
Requiring new hires to read a book.
Or that ceremony at Jekyll Island.
To reinforce his company's values.
Those are great examples.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Motivation skills, mission systems, culture. What's left?
The vision for the future.
Right. Bet David uses that analogy of the ship's design.
A good design can handle any storm.
And a clear vision can help you through challenges.
Like when Bet David achieved his dream of owning part of the Yankees.
It shows the power of visualizing your goals.
Use that phrase, imagine one day if.
To really see the possibility.
And don't just dream, take action.
Make sure your vision has a positive impact.
And remember, securing capital is about more than just numbers.
Yeah, it's about telling a compelling story.
Connecting with investors emotionally.
Like on Shark Tank.
Remember the hook, the story, and the emotion.
It's about finding that balance.
And understanding the investor's perspective.
So there you have it, a roadmap for achieving those audacious goals.
Based on choose your enemies wisely.
Bet David leaves us with a question.
What will your life look like if you eliminate most distractions?
It's about being intentional and making the right choices.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
Until next time, keep diving deep.